Hi everyone, it's Sunfire Fire back with another video. Um so what I wanted to talk about today was there's been a few I've seen a few videos of black people making fun of white people for, like, sometimes, like, they would say, like, they would respond to a video of a white person saying, of an Italian probably saying that they weren't white. And so then the black person would make fun of them. Like, I've heard, just because you're mayonnaise with olive oil in it doesn't mean you're still not mayonnaise, and stuff like that. And I'm just like, first of all, I don't condone, like, black people making fun of white people and then going around saying, oh, well, you know what, it's okay because all white people are racist and we've been oppressed for. It's like, no, don't do that, because then you're just as bad as those people that you're trying to get rid of. So of that ideology, you're using that ideology. You want to get rid of the ideology, but you're using it to your own advantage, and that's just gonna make you as bad as the people that you hate. So I so again, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to come on and say why a lot of these Italians you hear about say that they're not white. Um, the reason why Italians say these types of Italians, because not all Italians, like nowadays, not all Italians would say they're not white. I mean, if I am pretty sure, I mean, go in East Boston, there's a bunch of Italians there. Well, there are a bunch of Italians everywhere in Massachusetts, especially Massachusetts. But so but I'm pretty sure a lot of the Italians in Massachusetts would say I'm white, and I know I'm white. So why would you say I'm not white? But the reason why some of these Italians said they are not white is because they weren't white. They back then, uh I don't know all of Massachusetts history, but I know some Massachusetts history. And Italians Italian immigrants were not considered white. And I don't know about the rest of the country. I do know in general that a lot of Italian immigrants were not seen as white. But for me personally, since I'm from Massachusetts, I know a little bit about the history of, just generally, the history of Italian immigrants. I don't know that much, but I do know a little bit. So, like the Irish, who came 100 years before them, in, like, the Great Famine was around 1845. Um, I did a paper on how the Irish became white, and I recommend you also reading this book by Noel Ignatieff called How the Irish Became White. Um, so the Irish, I talked about this before, came around 1845. Mostly the Irish that were segregated were the Irish Catholics, because technically the Irish Protestants were already here since the 1700s. But obviously they were Protestants, and the WASP, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants who were in America, did not care for the Irish Catholics. So the Irish Catholics were not considered white. And then years and decades passed. Eventually the Irish Catholics will still Irish Catholics, but they would be in the schools now, and they would run for political office, and their values would coincide with the WASP values. So the WASP would start to warm up to them, and but it's still like, if you go against us, we're gonna go back against you. I mean, like that, you could go back to where you were a long time ago. So the Irish were not white until, like, I think the late 1890s. um so um and that's basically where we came up with the phrase white trash. Have you ever heard it before? Country singers love to say that they're white trash, which I don't understand. Why would you say that? But they love to say it. If you hear a country song, I'm white trash. Okay, fine. But we came up with the term white trash to show that these WASPs treated all these white immigrants as beneath them. I mean, they would even call them white Negroes. I mean, if you've ever heard the term Nina, it says no Irish need apply. When there would be signs in the windows saying um, no Irish need apply, or no dogs, no blacks, no Irish. And So basically, moving on to the 1890s and the 1900s, the Irish were already settled down. They were police officers. They were well respected. Um, Going to the 1900s, we have the Italian immigrants coming in, and what were their what were the was the primary religion in Italy at that time? Catholicism. So they were Italian Catholics. So it was just the WASP were just like, we accept the Irish. The Irish are doing well. They know what we want. But Italians, they don't really know what they want. They're not really coinciding with us. So they technically are not white. So we're gonna call them white Negroes. We Irish are not white Negroes anymore. They're white people now. So this causes Italian immigrants to get the lowest paying jobs, because these immigrants that are most immigrants that people think are low lives will get the butt end of the job stick. So I remember I read a book. I wish I remember the name, but it was about the Great Molasses Flood, which I really recommend looking up that, because it talks a lot about Italian immigrants. Um, it was a historical fiction book. I don't know, because the author had the players in it, but I don't know. But obviously, this is not exactly what happened. I don't think it's exactly what happened, but or maybe it was just historical. I'm not sure, but I know my library recommended on the weekly newsletter, and I read it, so it was pretty good. I wish I knew the name, remembered the name, but I read it a long time ago. So this was like around, I always forget when World War One started. This was like around 1917, 15, 13, I don't know. And the so they were so so the a lot of Italians were working at the molasses factory. Um, Oddly enough, I didn't know, I didn't know this, but like 10% of molasses goes to beer and alcohol, and then the rest goes to ammunition. I didn't know that. Um, I didn't know molasses would went in ammunition, so that's pretty cool. Um, so in that, all of that molasses went to ammunition that was used for World War I. So the thing is that the molasses factory was producing, and so there was like a big thingy that held all the molasses, and so in the book, one of the Italians would said that they went. The author said that the Italian went to the one of the Italians went to the the um the manager and said, "I think that the thing that's the canister that's holding all of the molasses in our factory is making noise like it's about to break." And um the manager didn't care what the Italian said because he's an Italian. I mean, this is a theory, um, this is a theory, but because like there are many factors that the author said that there may be many factors that contributed that were not explained during the Great Molasses Flood. Like the manager did know, but he got people to paint over it. So like um to paint the canister brown, so when the molasses leaked it looked like it was just paint. So a lot of stuff happened back then, and obviously the Great Molasses Flood killed a lot of people um in Boston. Well, not a lot, but it was because when I was younger and I heard about the molasses flood, I'm like, it's just molasses. But no, it was like hundreds of gallons going through a bunch of streets in Boston. So it took down people and took down homes, and it took a lot of people's livelihoods away from them. So going back to the Italians, as you can see, a lot of Italian, they were also called white Negroes. So they no one cared about them because they were the low lives of society, and they were similar to black people at that time. um so fun I also found out, I was going to say fun fact, but it's not such a fun fact, but Italians were at that time the second most lynched group other than black people. So Italians had some trauma back then. So black people want to say, oh well, we have historic generational trauma. It's tech. If you hear an Italian say that they're not white, that's also can be considered generational trauma on their end, because they've been told by the WASPs that they are not white. So when and after a while, if someone keeps saying to you like if someone keeps saying to you like you're not worthy, you're not worthy, you're not worthy, or like you're scum, you're at first you're going to be like, yes I am, I'm a human being just like you. I can be successful just like you. And like, but people keep saying it to you over and over and over and over again. And like we say, actions can speak louder than words, and they treat you like they sometimes they don't even they don't have to talk to you. They can just dismiss you like you were nothing, like you were less than the scum on your boot. And what if this happens over time. Obviously, one day you're just gonna be like, maybe I am scum because everyone around me is treating me terribly. So I must have done something wrong. I must have um I just am scum. And if you and someone tells you you're not white, you're not white, you're not, I guess I'm not white. It's sad, and it's just like it should be acknowledged that not black people are not the only people who have gone, are not the only ethnicity, race who have gone through the ringer in this world. We are not the only people who know what oppression is. um a lot of immigrants, just a lot of immigrants who come to America have gone through it just like everyone else. And so that's the whole part about the black movement where I can't get past. It's just like, first they want you to become, black people want say say that, oh, we're not all, we're not all the stereotypes, but then they want you to be stereotype, be in that same stereotype, because if you're not part of that stereotype, then you are not acting black, which doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I remember when I was younger, if you were a black nerd, you were not black. You People would be like, "Oh, you're just an Oreo." So, which means inside you're white and outside you're black. And it's really sad that that when you tell everybody to love yourself, when black people tell other black people to love yourself, then if you do something that goes against what that goes against your that goes against popular opinion, then you're not black. You don't love yourself. You want to be like other races, ethnicities. Same thing like with hair. I mean, um I start a lot of women now are like in 2010s, a lot of people are now starting to embrace their black women are starting to embrace their natural hair. And there are some women out there who cannot wear their natural hair, or there are some people who are going back to relaxers and wigs because they just don't know how to maintain their hair. And that's fine. It's like sometimes natural hair is just not for everyone, even though you were born with it. I mean, you need to take your own time to figure it out. And but then when you tell another black person who does love their hair that, then it's an attack on them, and then they will tell you, well, you're scum, you're self-loathing. And it's just like, no, that person has a particular problem with how they feel about something. It's not an attack on you. If someone told me if someone told me that they didn't love their hair, I would be like, why? How come you don't love your hair? I wouldn't see it as a personal attack on them. I would say maybe you need to find yourself, your own path first before you say you don't love your hair. Cuz if you're just going to help if you're saying you're going to try to help the person find themselves, but then tell them that they are self-loathing, then you're just part of the problem. So, I went on a tangent about the black the pro-black movement, but I'm back to talking about Italians not being white. So, obviously, nowadays, everything in Boston, because again, I don't know a lot about other places, but right now in 2023, everything in Boston is Irish or Italian. So obviously, the Italians are doing pretty well here now. So I don't think they feel oppressed at all. But again, just want I just I it's amazing how much people don't want to learn about history because because it's just like because when I see people not when I see black people make fun of Italians, I'm just like, well, you have to know that you have to know their history. I mean, I'm pretty sure like it's common knowledge now that black people used to be slaves for 400 years. And so now that's the main that's the main oppression that everybody knows from the past, but that's one of the main. I mean, um but it's not talked about it's not talked about that Italians and Irish were oppressed. It's not talked about that Jewish immigrants were oppressed. Um, it's not talked about that even though a lot of people are from of Jewish descent in America, it's not talked about how they during World War II um, they were targeted as they may or may not be German sympathizers. The Red Scare, I mean, well, the Red Scare was more like for like communist Russia, but the thing is, we just this is why a lot of people today are getting mad over what should be taught in schools. And because a lot of people want to fight for a certain way of being taught, but it's just like if you're not taught if you're only taught one specific type of history, you're probably not going to want to know anything else that happened in history, and you're probably not going to know why things are of today. And I'm not just talking about like history of all these ethnicities. I'm just talking about history in general. Like why 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 do the Native Americans want Christopher Columbus to come down? Why are the Italian Americans so up in arms about changing Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day? It's very interesting, and I think if people understood the history, then they can come together and talk about the social problems of today. But nobody wants to do that. But that's also why that's also why we need more historians, because not a lot of people want to do that. So that's all I have to say for today. It was a lot. Um, I always have a lot to say about everything. But that's all. Bye.